times, and that is the case. Finally, at the end of the final page, we wanted to address healthcare facilities. What happens with these guys is that they do have some other mandates. They have to follow the International Building Code like anybody else does, but they do have additional state and federal mandates that must be addressed in addition to that. So we put some language in there to ensure that they could adhere to all of those requirements.
I move we approve the amendment.
Okay, do we have any questions on the amendment? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor on the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, do we have any questions on the bill as amended?
I do, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
Representative Wood.
Let me ask you something. What do we do when we got some companies that's just barely making the grade? This is definitely gonna make the price of things go up. Is that not correct?
That is not correct.
It's not correct?
That is not correct. Are you referring to commercial construction?
I didn't look at it like that, but
This bill only refers to commercial construction, and all commercial construction which currently by code is either an assembly occupancy or is greater than 2,500 square feet must adhere to the requirement. Actually, all construction must adhere to the International Building Code, but only those that fall within that category must be signed off by an architect. That is already an existing code. We are not changing that.
right, that's what, I'd been talking to them about that, and that's why I just wanted to make sure now, but it's not gonna make the price of anything go up.
If anything, it'll go down. The fiscal note says that what this will do is actually diminish all of our county and cities from having to expend additional resources within their bodies to update codes and handle all those processes. Now it's being governed by one entity, very simply. So actually, we're
Yeah,
saving
and
money.
reason I said that too, you got a lot of
Actually,
companies that, like I said, are barely making it. And if you raise the price, and they probably don't do it anyway because they can't afford it.
and as far as it relates to contractors, again, as they are going from one municipality to another, as you can imagine, the administrative processes that happen internally within their respective companies becomes cumbersome when they're having to deal with building officials who are having different standards from one city to another. So this should simplify things for them very much and save them some overhead.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. Are there some counties or cities that might not be up to the current code?
No, sir. They all fall under the current code. However, the question probably lends itself to this. They're not all counties that have a building official. And this amendment addresses that and says that what we are doing is that even though we are mandating that those who currently have a building official must see these plans. If they currently do not have a building official, we are not mandating that they must hire one. Right. So we're not putting an unfunded mandate on anyone.
Okay. But if it's possible, if someone hasn't adopted the latest code, in Randy's question, and this makes the latest code statewide, that it could cost a little more if they're not up to the current code.
It should not. It should not. The building codes are not so substantially different one from another to where it would impact the cost of any labor or material prices.
Right.
Let me say, one reason I've been thinking about that and talking about it is you take our school system. Every time someone wants to build a new school, they have to get you to draw the plans up, and, everything changes. Where why in the world couldn't we in Alabama say we have 10 architects like you, for instance, and have 10 in order, and somebody in whatever county picks one of those 10. And anytime they want to build a school, it's got to be one of those. Look at the money they could save, because it costs thousands of dollars every time they do it.
Well, the state has a uniform procedure through the Department of Construction Management, which is a schedule of fees for architects. Doesn't matter what architect you use, you get the same fee every time. It's a qualifications-based process, so it's not a bid process. It's not where one architect is going to charge you more than another. So the state actually regulates what that fee is.
I know it, and I know it's regulated, but what I'm saying, if it was already done, they wouldn't even have to do it. It wouldn't cost nobody, after your first initial cost.
I'm not following you. Are you saying that we would cookie cutter our particular school
I'm saying,
designs?
say, for instance, you as an architect, you have 10 drawings, and you tell the school system you got to pick one of these 10. That's what.
I don't know that that it would be terribly.
Oh, yeah, it'll work.
If you say so, but let's let our school boards make that decision. I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I've just had that issue come up a couple of times back home, and they all want to blame it on, well, we have to change this, have to change that because of the architect and because of this.
They might need to change architects, is what the problem may be. But that I'm just saying. That has nothing to do with this bill.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Okay, at this time, we entertain a motion. Okay, have a motion, we have a second. Second, and all in favor say aye. All opposed? No. Okay. Representative Woodson, no. Please mark that down. Okay, sir, your bill passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. Thank you, Randy Wood.
Okay, next up is going to be HB 230. Let's give these people a minute. HB 231 by Chairman Ingram.
Thank you, Chairman. This bill is pretty simple. It just puts prayer and the pledge back into school, and it holds the schools responsible to make sure it happens. Any questions?
Wait.
Okay, any questions or any comments?
Is there,
Okay, Mr. Representative Land.
is a public hearing?
So the bill says prayer in the Christian Judeo tradition.
That's right.
So if a school would choose to use a more inclusive form of prayer or a moment of silence, would that count?
I don't think so. The way this bill says, the student does not have to participate. No clawback on the student, no discipline on the student if he doesn't or she doesn't participate. It's just that they have to, it's just like in our chamber, it says, "In God we trust." What on the dollar bill is what this country was built on, And we did it when we were growing up. It was led in your classroom when you were growing up. Am I right?
When I was very young, it was,
Yeah.
but not in older
Yeah.
grades,
Well, I know, not in college, but
not in high school.
Well, I don't know what high school you went to, but when I was in school, it was led. Yes, ma'am. Just putting it back to where it was.
And we're going to penalize schools if for some reason they don't do this?
Participate, if they don't lead the prayer, it's a little participation clawback if it's not. Yes, ma'am.
25%?
Well, it's on the pledge. We've implemented a pledge. All schools are not participating in that, and so we passed that in 22, and it's got to be some kind of clawback. Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
I guess I just don't understand why we need to legislate this for all schools rather than let this be a local issue and let schools decide on their own.
And I agree. I mean, this is a voting process, just like this committee, and it'll be on the floor, a voting process. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
That's right, Representative Boyd.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to be cautious to the chairman, but when you hit education, that always knocked me down. But the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer required each day.
Yes, ma'am.
Each day. But which prayer, which pledge, which...
Pledge to our flag. Our recruit is down in National Guard, is down in every branch of the military, because a lot of these kids don't understand what a flag is and what it is. And I mean, we all grew up, most of the people in this room, we had the pledge when we grew up. We said prayer. And that's just ethics, and it's just what our basics of what our country was built on. And I think it would help on crime. I think it would help on a lot of things. We put prayer back into our classrooms, put it back into our, and I know we've had this discussion before. I know you're a Christian, and I know we all go to church, and we all want more prayer.
But you hit when you said flag.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The American
state of
flag.
Alabama, we have the national flag.
We pledge
and
every
got
day
the
when we go back in.
Wait, I haven't
Yes, ma'am.
finished.
I'm sorry.
We got that Confederate flag
ma'am.
with that. And then some people get confused as to which is which and say, "I will pledge."
It's an American flag.
Oh, it's taken care of.
Yes, ma'am.
The United States flag, I
Yes, ma'am.
missed that last night.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, You're not supposed to get on the wrong side of your chairman, but education just, it knocks me down. After 45 years and 6 months, I have to.
That's right. How many years during your service did y'all say a pledge and a prayer? Long.
I stopped, well, in older days, yes.
right.
We said it every day.
And I think that's what this bill does. It wants to put it back to that. That's
back
all
to where it was.
Back to where it was. That's all we're asking.
That's all it's gonna do.
Okay.
And then it's a constitutional amendment. I think, you know, the parents of these children and the voters get to vote on it. We're going to, the people of Alabama are going to decide.
We're not going to
put it in this
mandate
bill.
this up to the people of the state of Alabama. It'll be a CA.
Okay, Representative Butler.
Hey, I just want to make a quick comment that this is 100% constitutional. The limit test was overturned, and there is a historical precedence for this exact bill. That's all I wanted to comment.
Thank
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Any further comments or questions? Representative Chestnut.
One of the questions that I have is in section 1 about the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. You do know that there are people who are identify with certain religions that might be Judeo-Christian, but they don't believe in pledging allegiance to a particular flag of any.
And they don't have to participate. No child participation is mandatory in this.
Okay. Do you have a provision in here that's saying that?
Well, it doesn't say that they have to. So you're not going to use your imagination and say that every one of them would have to. The only clawback is on the school where they would have to participate in that.
Okay, because I do know that Jehovah's Witnesses, for one, because I used to study with them when I
Right.
was younger, that's against their tenets and their faith.
They can just be quiet and not interruptive.
Right. This is addressing the school, not the child.
Yeah, and that's the reason we said that is because a lot of people that come into this country are, like in my district, are from Hyundai or South Korea, and I wouldn't, make them participate in something that they're not a citizen of this country.
Okay, any more comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. I'm sorry, let's get a motion. Okay, okay, I'm sorry, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay,
Aye.
sir, thank you, bill passes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members.
Okay, next up, Leader Stadhagen, HB 67. This has a public hearing. He'll speak a little bit, and then we'll start the public hearing. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. This is HB 67. There's two parts to this bill, and what you're going to realize is this bill in both parts is protection of kids. We've seen in the recent years of different shows with men dressing as women, indoctrinating our kids. The problem is we don't need to have kids in that type of environment, and that's what this prevents. The second part of that is with camps. If you're a girl, you stay in the girls section. If you're a boy, you stay in the boys section. It protects. It's similar to the bathroom bill I passed years ago, but it basically gives the kids protection and the parent, after dropping that kid off at camp, knowing there's not going to be the opposite sex in their private setting. Okay? That's it. That's as simple as it is. That's what it is.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, when time.
Yeah, we have a public hearing.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
We'll do questions after.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to start the public hearing. Clerk, please, you're going to have 3 minutes. We have two speakers. You're going to get 3 minutes. Here's your time right here. When it gets to 0, your time's up.
First, we have Gianna Mims.
That's good.
Hello, I'm Gianna Mims, a 47-year-old resident of Chilton County and a constituent of Ivan Smith's district. When I was young, I was involved in everything musical I could find. I was in youth choir as well as adult choir, and I served as the children's choir director. In our high school musical in 1993, The Wizard of Oz, I played the wizard. I had 4 costumes and was the only sophomore with a speaking role. No one questioned me being selected for that role, even though I was a girl playing a boy's role with a boy costume. In high school, we had Powerpuff Games when the football players and cheerleaders switched clothing and roles. We had beauty pageants where the football players dressed up. This was the 90s. No one batted an eye. Today, I'm the parent of a trans child whose very existence is the topic of debate in this Alabama legislature. In just the past year, I've watched my brilliant child have their spirit broken as the state dictates what is allowed and appropriate in our lives, and now you are trying to interfere with where they can sleep on overnight field trips. I want my child to enjoy the beauty of artistic expression just like I did when I was younger. But bills like this create a political climate that make that impossible. Do you know how hard it is to show my child the love of Jesus when you are using your interpretation of a religious text to enforce the agenda being handed down from you from above? We have real needs and issues in this state that you were elected to come here and address and serve your constituents. And that includes trans kids, and that includes artists who push the envelope. This bill will actively harm trans Alabamians and kids that want nothing more than to exist in peace and dignity. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Next is Tish Wan.
War, sorry. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Tish War, and I'm a licensed social worker in the state of Alabama. I live in District 15, and my representative is Lee Holsey. I am entrusted through my license and my profession to respect the dignity and worth of the people that I serve, and to respect their relationships to others in their lives, whether it be family members, friends, or trusted adults. Bathrooms and public spaces, such as libraries and water fountains, have often been the subject of restriction in our state's history. Important places that every child should be able to access for their well-being, as well as their academic growth, have been restricted and outlawed for various marginalized groups in our state and beyond. The bill's sponsor states that the goal of this bill is banning drag performances in schools and public libraries, but it's worded so vaguely that it could have much further reaching consequences. The bill's definition of drag is immensely broad and vague. It encompasses anything that a bad actor would want it to mean. Under this definition, if someone doesn't conform to another person's taste in clothing, they could argue that this person is in violation of this law. In extremely bad faith cases, men wearing kilts and every woman wearing pants could qualify as drag. This is clearly not the intention of the bill. The fact is, the number of children in Alabama this bill will seriously affect is very small compared to the overall population. But its harmful language, as well as its further implications, can be disastrous for all youth. Policing children in public spaces is a relic of the past, from a time when Black children had to drink from different water fountains, use different bathrooms, and go to different schools. This bill prescribes similar treatment to children who do not conform to their sex at birth. In short, let's leave children alone and focus on the real issues. Better healthcare access, more treatment beds for mental health and substance use, and better educational services for our children in our state. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Leader Stadhagen. Get to this point, if there's any comments or questions by the committee. Okay, we have
I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, Representative Land, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'm trying to understand what's behind this bill. I know what happens in my libraries, and I feel like there must have been some impetus for this to be introduced. Can you give us more specifics on?
Absolutely. So past 2 years, do you read 1819 Yellowhammer News? Sometimes? Okay, so they carried several articles about men dressed as women in front of kids.
I believe there was a man dressed as Mother Goose.
Men dressed as women in front of kids.
Mother Goose.
Whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to tell you right now, that is not appropriate for a young child to see.
Do you know where it happened?
It happened all over the state. Mobile was one.
I don't think it happened that many places, and it was a man dressed up as Mother Goose. I mean,
Negative.
I think this is... Okay. I just feel like that so much of what we're doing here is overreach and a reaction, a very reactive measure, when there really isn't a problem there.
So you would agree that it is appropriate for a man to be dressed as a woman in a sexual manner in front of a child?
It doesn't say anything about a sexual
It was
manner.
just a question to you, though. Would you agree to that or not?
Not in a sexual manner, but that's not part of this bill.
If a man is dressed as a woman in front of kids, pretending to be a woman, would you think that's appropriate?
If it's part of a theater or performance, absolutely. It happens all the time.
Reading time to kids, you would say that's appropriate.
Mother Goose reads to the kids.
So you and I would disagree on that topic.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your question. Representative Yelper.
Yeah, it's not just theory. I like to say in my hometown, we had a situation where a drag show was put on and people in sexual attire were having children put money in their pants, and they were dressed in obviously opposite gender clothing. Obviously, the situation in Huntsville with the teacher, it was on a podcast acknowledging that they hide material and do things. He was doing a very sexually explicit reading time with kids. It's not theory. My town, for one, would tell you it's not theory, and what happened was incredibly egregious and wrong. And so I think this bill is very good common sense, and I think probably our grandparents and great-grandparents are looking down from above and praying for us right now. So thank you for bringing the bill.
Thank you.
Okay. Representative Boyd.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to sit up and make sure I remember my biology and from teaching. What about people who, I think at birth we'll have to know which is dominant. There are some people who are born with both sex organs. And I may be ever so wrong. I'm trying to just remember way back some years what I was taught.
Yes, ma'am. So I remember this was some of the past legislation we passed. It's such a very small percentage. I mean, I really don't know. They would pick whatever sex they wanted at that time. The doctor would or the parents would, and I guess they'd roll with that. But it's like a very small percentage.
Question number two. Oh, I'm sorry, finish. Question number two, which strikes me very much when you talk about public libraries and books and knowledge. I'm going to say this, and forgive me if I offend anyone. Is this not a part of the national agenda that's coming down from states to states that you have to promote because of attack that's coming on public education, schools, and other things from our top? When I say top, I'm just going to spell it out. I have to. The Bible say, if you think it in your heart, so is you. So I can't sit here without thinking about the agenda that is being set forth nationally. And I guess I may spell it out, the Republicans' agenda. And no offense to whatever you are, I'm just speaking facts of what I see in all the years I've lived. You do well with your agendas. You get it state by state by state. When I look at this, you can stand there whether you truly believe this or whether you've been forced to do it because what you're a part of to keep positions. No offense, please, I've got to just get this out of my system as it relates to this. And this is the way I see this, as small as it may be, that it's a part of a way to continue an agenda, and I'll say again, that we have to face, beginning to face, and God bless and help us all to be able to do what is right by our children and by other people. No offense here.
No offense
It's
taken.
just-
And for the record, Representative, when I first started working on this, Joe Biden was the president last session. We put this in as an amendment on a bill that wasn't successful in the Senate, so I chose to do this as an independent bill. So it's not a national agenda. It's something that I saw a need in our state and started pursuing it. Unfortunately, we didn't get across the finish line last year, but it's nothing to do with the national politics.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman, I have a
Representative Lawrence.
I have a comment I wanted to make. I understand the premise behind this bill, but at the same time, I'm a little concerned about it, not because of what it says, but, you know, we say in America that America is the land of the free, the home of the brave. And when we say free, that comes with certain freedoms that we have. Just because we don't see things like other people, we should impose our way and our wills on how they should live. Case in point, we have a tendency here in this legislature to, when they talk about certain issues, we don't want the government interfering in our lives. We want to be able to do what we want to do, how we want to do it, and not have government overreach. But then when it comes to other issues, we want to say, we're not going to worry about that. We want to have a government that says, I want you to do this, I want you to do it like this, and I want you to do it at this time. And to me, I feel like that is hypocritical. I feel like it's not right. And I feel that if we're going to be a government that's going to legislate and mandate things to people, we should do it all the way from A to Z, not pick and choose. If it's C, I want to do this. If it's D, I want to do that. And I think, you know, I don't feel like people should be put in a box as to where they can't do what they feel like they want to do. This is America. This is land of the free, home of the brave. So I think in sticking with that, you know, we need to stop here mandating things to certain groups of people because we don't understand them or how they live doesn't resonate with how we want to live. Those are just my comments. And I know once we get ready to vote, I know how the vote's going to go, and so I just wanted to put that on the record. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
And
Thank
for
you,
the
Representative
record,
Lawrence. So we have a motion by Wood and a second by Bedstow. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, bill passes.
No. Damn. No.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.